Look at that, I'm making another video. After the camera quality at the beginning of the last one, I really thought about giving up. But here we are again, giving all of you self-help junkies another one of those how do I keep my New Year's resolutions videos. I know you've been on a rampage, but before that, make sure that you hit those buttons. You know which ones. In this video, we're going to be giving you, I'm going to be giving you 3 tips on how to create and maintain effective New Year's resolutions, or as this video will probably be retitled in a few weeks, goals, habits in general. So let's get on with that. So our first tip here is that willpower doesn't work. Willpower is that power that you have to keep all of your habits and resolutions. You know, the power that you have to eat a celery stick instead of an Oreo, the power you have to get out of bed in the morning and go to the gym, the power that you have to do that thing that you want to do instead of watching another YouTube video. Yeah, it turns out willpower is real and it sucks. This is where our science comes in 1998 in a paper published by Roy Baumeister and colleagues. In the script, to be honest, I had the names of all of the scientists in there, but for some reason scientists' names are pretty insane, and so there might be a screenshot up on the screen now of that paper, so you'll see the colleague names there regardless. Maybe, who knows, either I was lazy or I couldn't do it, so it might not be there. Don't expect too much from me. Anyways, in that study, which might be considered modern day torture at this point, 1998, in the study there were 67 participants. Those 67 participants were told not to eat anything for 3 hours. And afterwards, those participants were brought all into a room that smelled like freshly baked chocolate cookies. So it made them quite hungry, probably. I know I would be. Those participants were all sat at a table that had one bowl of the chocolate chip cookies that were indeed baked in the room, and a bowl of radishes, which aren't as good as chocolate chip cookies, depending on your taste palette. But here's where the torture comes in. A third of them were told that they could eat a few of the cookies, a third of them had to eat a few of the cookies, a third were told that they had to eat a few of the radishes, and then the last third was the control group that were told that they could eat whatever they wanted. And so afterwards, they gave them all a puzzle. And this puzzle was deliberately and unbeknownst to the participants unsolvable. You couldn't figure it out. And what the scientists wanted to measure was how long would it take for all of these participants to give up on the puzzle. And I'm gonna have to look down here. And so what we found was that each participant, or not each participant, the radish group, the group that was told that they could only eat a few radishes, they quit on an average of 8.35 minutes. The cookie group quit on an average of 18.9 minutes, and the control group, who could do whatever they wanted, 20.86 minutes, which is a 10-minute difference between the radish group and the control group. The theory that the scientists proposed was that by expending willpower on resisting the urge to eat the cookies, the participants had less willpower later to try to solve that unsolvable puzzle. Of course, they weren't going to solve it, you can't, but maybe they would have given up a lot later if they hadn't had to use their willpower on forcing themselves not to eat the cookies and eating the radishes instead. And we can see that in the results. The ones that got to eat the cookies, they didn't have to resist much at all, and the ones that could do whatever they wanted had to resist nothing at all. And so consequently, they did the best, the control group did. And so it seems pretty accurate. In another study with 205 participants, they gave all of them a beeper, and that beeper would beep throughout the day, and it would ask them, are you resisting a temptation right now? How strong is the temptation? And were you successful at avoiding it? People that encountered more and stronger temptations earlier in the day were more likely to fall to temptations later in the day. But before the study, the scientists asked all the participants, how good are you at resisting temptation? The people that reported that they were better at resisting temptation actually reported fewer instances of temptation throughout the day. And yeah, it's definitely a lot easier to avoid temptation when you don't have any, right? And so what they actually found was that the people that said they were good at it didn't have to do it at all. And this is further in another study with 150 university students. They found that the students who were best at achieving their goals were the students that didn't have to use willpower at all. The students that did have to use a lot of willpower, that exerted a lot of self-control, those students actually weren't that effective at achieving their goal. It doesn't really make sense, does it? The ones that succeeded were the ones that had days that were planned out, that knew what they were going to do in the day, and they had a lot of structure in their day. They didn't have to think much about what they were going to do while they were going through it. They just made a plan and they followed it. So that's the first tip I have for you. Don't rely on the shaky ground of willpower. If you want to eat healthier, don't try to choose between Cheez-Its, goldfish, celery, and carrots. Just don't buy the Cheez-Its and the goldfish in the first place. Don't bring it home. And then you won't have to be tempted between choosing between the healthier or the unhealthier option. If it's not there, you only have the healthy option. If you want to go to the gym in the morning, don't force yourself out of bed and do it. Maybe you can, and if so, impressive, but that means you're more susceptible to falling to other temptations later in the day. Instead, what you could do is you can take your gym shoes and your clothes, and you can literally, this might sound weird, but put it in their bathroom. You get up out of bed in the morning, you brush your teeth, and all of your gym stuff is right there. So you put it on and you head out, and it makes it a lot easier to do what you want to do. It's super attractive to look like you have the mental fortitude of the Great Pyramids. However, it's not really a very effective way to achieve your goals. The second tip is to make sure that you're setting goals that you can actually achieve. And this tip might actually come before the last one did, but here we are. Anyways, yes, setting goals that you can actually achieve. Someone once said, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land on a star. I think that quote is absolute doo-doo. No, that's not how it works. If you shoot for the moon and you miss, you're gonna die in the emptiness of space. And even if you do get close to a star, you're going to be incinerated. And it's really hard to achieve anything if you're space dust. All right, you don't want that. All right, let's not miss the moon if we want to shoot for the moon. NASA just launched a thing in, I don't remember what they launched. It's some sort of thing that's going to be used for collecting space data. But if that messes up even a little bit, we're screwed. All right, it's really bad. We don't want anything to mess up. If you shoot for the moon, please hit the moon. And this video is aimed towards helping you get to the moon, not missing the moon and landing on a star and frying yourself. That would suck. Honestly, whether you can or can't achieve a goal depends on you. I can't give you absolute advice, especially because I don't know what the goal is. I'm not with you. And so what I can do is give you 2 rules of thumb and also 1 rule or 1 idea that will help you cement those things. First off, make sure that the goal is actually something that you can do. See, you can't gain 5,000 subscribers. You can't lose 50 pounds in 3 months, and you can't make $10,000 in 5 months. Those aren't actionable goals. Those are goals you can set, but that you have no control over. You can't make that happen forcefully. It's just not going to happen. What you can do is you can make a YouTube video once a week. You can go to the gym 3 times a week. You can apply for jobs, for the money one, but those are things that you can actually do. See, the first 3 you can't do anything about. It happens, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. You don't have direct control over whether or not they succeed. However, you do have direct control over making a video, going to the gym, applying for jobs. Those are things that you can actually do. So when you set goals and you make goals, make sure that you can actually do them. Make sure they're actually executable and doable goals. Otherwise, you'll be disheartened and they won't be specific enough, and you won't be able to actually do them because you won't know what you need to actually do to get there. It doesn't make sense. So make sure that your goals are actually achievable. Second off, start slow and get bigger. See, if you haven't been to the gym in 2 years, which, I mean, COVID, you probably haven't, then maybe going to the gym 7 days a week right off the bat isn't a great idea. Maybe you should go 2 times a week, no more and no less. Because if you go more than what you said you would, you might feel good because you went more, but now A, you're creating an expectation in your mind to go that many times next week, and B, that's super loose. You're going when you feel like it. You're setting an expectation and a habit and a pattern of feeling like it. And you don't want that. You want to be able to keep a very strict plan and structure. Remember, one of the studies that we mentioned in the last tip was that the people that were most successful at achieving their goals stuck to a hard structure. And so say that you want to do 2 times a week, and don't go less than that because obviously you're failing then, and don't go more than that because of what I just said. And so maybe after a month of doing that very consistently, if you can do it successfully, up that to 3 days a week. And then after maybe 2 months of doing that, you can go to 4. I don't know. Don't make yourself too comfortable, because if you do that, then you're not going to improve much. So if you keep doing 2 weeks and it's time for you to move on and you don't, well, you're not making progress anymore. However, don't become too uncomfortable. Don't force yourself too much. Don't use too much willpower, because we know how that's going to go. It's not going to work. So let's not do that one. And the last and final thing for cementing those two is write your goals down. This is super important. If you watch any other videos on effective habit making, effective New Year's resolutions, or whatever else it may be, you're going to see this tip. You need to write things down. And for me, I'm a sucker for pen and paper when it comes to this. So I'm gonna recommend that you get a pen, a paper, you get your bullet journal and your pen, and your favorite fountain pen or whatever pen you use. I'm a ballpoint guy, but whatever pen you use, and write your goals down with as much detail as you possibly can. Now, if you use your iPhone notes or you use Notion, I'm not gonna tell you not to use those things. I love Notion, as you absolutely know. And so if those are how you roll, that's how you roll. No judgment here. Just make sure that you write them down. Make sure that you get them out of your head. You want to spend more time doing your goals, not thinking about how you're going to do them. And the more detail that you write these things down with, the easier it is for you to execute on them and do them. The more automatically that you can do it. Instead of thinking about it all the time and keeping it in your head, you can think about it once, write it down, and just follow the plan. If you know how computers work, just write the code once and hit run. You don't need to do it again, because that'll take up way too much brain energy and it'll take way too much willpower, especially if you forget to do it and then you sit down and you realize, oh crap, I forgot to do that today. Never a good feeling. But yeah, that's the second tip. Make sure that your goals are actually achievable and write them down. On to the third. Tip number 3, make your life easier, not harder. See, this tip goes with the last two, or really the first one, the willpower one, because we want to remove willpower to the best of our ability from the equation. We want to minimize it. And so if you write down your goals with the utmost detail, it'll make it super easy for you to go ahead and follow those goals. In the book, The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor, he writes about the 20-second rule. He gives the example of wanting to read more. Instead of buying a book and putting it on your shelf and just leaving it there, what he did was he said he got a book and he put it on his couch where he would always sit down, and usually he would watch Netflix instead of reading the book. And so this time he took the book, he put it on his couch, and then he took the remotes from his TV and he put it 20 seconds away from the TV remote. And he found that was enough to deter him from turning on the TV, because 20 seconds was just too much for his brain. And he was reading a lot more. So just make things that you don't want to do harder to do, and make things that you want to do easier to do. Say you want to play the guitar more, which is also an example that Shawn gave in his book. He said he kept his guitar in the closet 20 seconds away. All he had to do was open the closet and get it to practice more. But he found that after he took the guitar, I was going to say the closet out of the guitar, after he took the guitar out of the closet and he made it way easier to just reach out and grab it, he found that he was practicing way more. Those simple few seconds that make it easier to do what you need to do or what you want to do are very, very important. Your brain is super into that efficiency, so it won't want to waste any energy whatsoever doing having to open a closet door. Don't force yourself to do the things that you know you want to do or that you know you should do. See, make it easier for yourself to do things. You're not trying to become a sage monk in the mountains. You're trying to achieve your goals. That's all. And so if you need to play a few dirty tricks on your brain to do that, go for it. And the ones that we gave here is minimize willpower usage, make sure that you have concrete and executable and achievable goals, and make sure that you are making it easy for yourself, not harder for yourself. That is all though for this video. If you want to hear more, go listen to my podcast, Seriously Funny. I just had an episode that comes out I don't know when this video comes out, and I don't know when that episode comes out, but it's probably out now. So go give that a listen. Mostly I said a lot of what I said in this video, but I go a little bit more into depth in my podcast. So if you're interested in that, go give that a listen. That's up. Other than that, go hit those buttons. You know which ones. And also, all the source material will be in the description. You might not have access to some of it because some of it's paid access, unless you have institutional from like your college or something access. So you might not get to read the entire thing. But yeah, all the links, sources in the description. I'll probably make another video at some point on the habit cycle, but I don't know when that will be at all. So until then, thank you for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next.